Yeah, I think we got Georgia's got its own little version of Invincible going on right now. With
Amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've got our own
Yeah.
little version of Invincible going on right now. That I want to see how this movie ends.
Welcome to My God a Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Wood, and I've got John Powell with me again to recap the Auburn game. Quick reminder, as always, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at My God a Podcast. You can email us at mygodapodcast@gmail.com. And we would love it if you would please subscribe to our podcast on Google, Amazon, Stitcher, or Apple Podcasts. All right, let's get right to it. And be sure to stick around until the end when we announce our giveaway winner from 7 6 Apparel. Yeah, so first I think, just to recap our picks that we made. So, which we actually both did. Well, you did better than me. So, starting quarterback, I went Daniels, you went Bennett. Obviously, you got that.
Yep.
One and a half quarterbacks play over under. We both took the over, and we were both right. Although not for the reasons I think, at least for me, not for the reasons I thought. But I will much rather have it that way, where we get the second quarterback in because the game is in hand. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
And then jersey color, we both took red. That was correct, which I was assuming would be correct. I think we said 0% chance of black jerseys, so we were there.
Yeah.
And then we both took, we both took Georgia to win. You were closer than I was, but neither of us, I think, thought it was going to be like that. So I had 21-17. You had 21-10. So you had a larger margin of victory there.
That was pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, you were close. You were close. The thing that I didn't actually say, like, as a total prediction, but something that you called out that I would not have been looking for at all was Pegues. So I'm glad you said that. I did not know about that guy, and that guy is huge.
Yeah, he was a monster. When I saw him in the replays, when I saw the game tape with Kentucky, I mean, he was moving all over the place. I'm actually really surprised that it took them that long to get him involved at the end, basically. Like
Well,
short
that was the
yard.
funny thing. When you mentioned him, I went back and looked at the box score from their game against Kentucky, and he was a guy that didn't really show up in the box score because he didn't have any catches. I don't know if they did any of those direct snaps to him in that game, but those were obviously successful. Um, where they had their short yardage and just did that direct snap, and that worked. I mean, he's so big, but so it's good call on him.
Yeah, I think that playing a guy kind of like that, Pitts obviously is going to represent as we get down the wire. But yeah, it was good to see them handle Auburn all up and down the field. Two good receivers were basically shut down. I mean, their entire team was effectively shut down. I think they had just a few more points or a few more yards than we had points in the first half.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I kind of felt like, I mean, you had called out, watch out for Seth Williams, watch out for Eli Stove, and which, made sense. But just looking at the box score, I mean, or just in the game, I mean, and the interesting thing also for me was that it was Campbell that we had on Williams. And I mean, he shut him down.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most
Yeah.
part. So he only had 3 catches for 34 yards. I don't see Stove on the box score at all. Did he not? I don't think he even had a catch.
I don't think he did. Yeah.
And their leading receiver ended up being Bigsby.
Yeah.
So Tank Bigsby was their leading receiver with 68 yards.
Yeah, and I think I had messaged you in the lead up to the game that if Bo Nix was their leading rusher, that it was going to be a bad night for them in Athens. Well,
right.
I should have said if Tanks Bigsby is their leading receiver, it's going to be a bad night for them in Athens.
Right. Well, and I mean, so okay, they only had 39 yards rushing total, and Nix was their second leading rusher with 8 yards behind Bigsby with 31. I mean
Right.
I mean, so just our our accolades and talk up of the Georgia defense continued to show as true yesterday. And let's not forget that, hey, maybe Arkansas is actually not so bad.
Well, I mean, I think that Dog Stats posted out there that who had Arkansas as the preseason #2 defense.
Right. Unbelievable.
I think that as time goes on, obviously we'll have some more common opponents, etc. I think you mentioned that. It will be interesting to see what's going on there, but did not expect the performance that we got out of the boys. I think Stetson, even if he was being honest with himself, probably didn't expect to have so much success passing. I think that he had a QBR rating of like almost 120 on passes that were over 20 yards downfield. So to see him have such success on those deeper throws is really promising for us, particularly as the season rolls on. But
Well,
I mean,
I just, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that, I mean, that for me though, the tail of the tape was the defense. The defense basically, we mentioned it in the last podcast, but the when we have good defense and we have good special teams, this team is going to be dangerous, regardless of what we do on the offensive side of the game.
Right.
I mean, Auburn basically, they opened the game, 3 plays, 1 yard, and then they had another possession that resulted in a punt. 3 plays, 1 yard resulted in a punt. 5 plays, 22 yards resulted in a punt. 3 plays, 4 yards resulted in a punt. I mean, that's where I'm saying, like, they had less yards, I think, in the first half. You know what I mean? Like, at that
Yeah.
point it was 24-0.
Well, I mean, it was over so fast, and my phone is just blowing up from everyone at this point. You, my dad, Patrick, my buddy Jeff, just, I didn't see this. I didn't see this coming. Because when we went through last week the kind of realm of possibilities, I was leaning towards a close game. I think we agreed that Auburn blowing Georgia out didn't seem like it was in the cards. And I still, I said, I think that Georgia blowing out Auburn was possible, but I didn't feel like it was probable. And I mean, obviously, super happy to be wrong on that one.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know, not the hugest score, but I mean, the spread closed at 7 and we tripled the spread. I mean, so that's, I don't know. I consider that a blowout.
Yeah, I mean, any way you slice it, it was pretty well. I mean, it was we beat the dog crap out of him to pull Gus's own quote against him. But I mean, if we're up 24-3 and our first punt comes in our one, two, three, four, fifth series, if it takes us 5 series and we're up 24-3. And that
Right.
kind of, if we continue to do that kind of performance on offense, like, holy cow, watch out! This team is gonna light up some people.
Yeah. So let's talk offense for a second. So the great thing is this week we will not have to make a prediction on who's the quarterback. The mailman, the mailman has delivered again, and I mean he is straight up the guy. And I know we were just talking about the post game interview with him where he's trying to answer questions and he's just being mobbed by teammates yelling mailman, mailman. So he's showing on the field and it looks like he's got the support of the whole team. I mean, I know Adam Anderson, I think, was the guy that was in there last just screaming mailman and they're rubbing his hair. And you mentioned the QBR. I actually just saw it for this season on ESPN's QBR. Stetson Bennett is number 2 in the whole country. I didn't see that coming.
I think Barrett Sully, obviously was eating a lot of crow with his statement that
Right.
they were going to absolutely roast us or something like that, or torch us
Yep.
or something.
Yep.
But it was nice to see him completely eating that crow and owning it. But I do
Oh, he
think that
did.
in his recap kind of article for the game, he mentioned Stetson Bennett was just enough, and I'm like, man, if that's not like a backhanded compliment, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I mean, he looked really good. I thought. I mean, the first series, he did overthrow. I mean, I think Fitzpatrick, I don't know if he would have had the speed to finish it, but he was open enough that could have maybe even been a touchdown, right, on the third play of the game where he overthrew him,
Mm-hmm.
at least a long completion. And he overthrew him. I mean, there's got to be a lot of juice flowing for him, right? First start, home game against Auburn. I mean, it's his dream school. He left and came back, right? I mean, he's got to be jacked up. So I can understand that. But after that, I mean, he settled in, and the touchdown pass to Pickens, I mean, just the air he put under that. He throws a pretty ball. I know he underthrew Jackson a bit on that one deep ball later in the game.
Yeah, he overthrew.
After he
Yeah,
underthrew it a little bit, but a great play by Jackson, right, to slow down and kind of shield the defender. But that one to Pickens, there was another nice one to Landers that I don't know if Landers lost it in the lights or what, but I think he probably got an earful from Kirby after that one. But that one also I felt like was a pretty ball. I mean, he ballooned it. It just went like straight up.
mm-hmm.
So just the air he puts under the deep ball, I like to let that receiver get out there and run under it. So I don't know what he was seeing there. I mean, again, the stats guys definitely like him at the QBR. I mean, 17 to 28, 240 yards, a touchdown, no picks. That's more than just adequate to me, or just about whatever he said.
That the no picks thing, if that continues, I believe that we have a starter on our hand for good. If he doesn't start turning the ball over, knock on wood.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that that continues to pan out, because turnovers will be the bane of this offense's existence if we start turning the ball over, coughing the ball up, or anything like that. But
Right.
yeah, no mistakes, no fumbles, no giveaways kind of situation would be ideal for everyone. Um,
I do
the
want to say one thing on Jackson really quick. I still, again, embarrass omission that I forgot him on the first show. I mean, talk about someone emerging. We talked about who can be that number two guy behind Pickens. And I mean, right now, Kyrus Jackson is almost playing like the guy. And obviously, he's not, with Pickens eating up that coverage and all the attention and focus on Pickens, you would hope that someone can come in and step in and take advantage of that. And Jackson has absolutely been doing that. He's looked phenomenal.
Yeah, part of me was wondering if it was, because Stetson, spent a lot of time on the scout team. Kyrus, he's a redshirt sophomore, but I'm wondering if they developed a partnership kind of on that second team or whatever for,
Mm.
while Stetson was kind of doing some of the second team work last year. When they're running with the twos and the threes, I don't know. I don't know how often he was necessarily throwing to Pickens previously, but it does seem that Karras is his favorite receiver right now.
Yeah, I love to see that. So sorry, I think you were starting to say something else right before I said that. If you remember, if I didn't ruin your train of thought.
I do not remember. It must
Okay.
not have been important. We're gonna edit that out.
Do you want? Sorry. Shall we discuss the uh, the resurrection of a fullback?
Well, the last recap, we were talking about how the tight end is back. They do exist. Now we're
Yes,
talking about the fullback. They do exist.
the fullback is back, and I tweeted from our podcast account, "My God, a fullback!"
Mm-hmm.
After that first touchdown out of the jumbo package, where we saw Jalen Carter at fullback and Jordan Davis at tight end, and it was those two guys that, I mean, White walked in on that first touchdown where they did that. It was beautiful. I love to see it, and I love the fact that it was used twice in the game and produced two touchdowns.
Hey man, keep it coming, keep it coming. And whenever we get to those like short yardage situations, there was that one time when we kicked the field goal, where you and I were both kind of lamenting that we got a little too cute there, as we got down to the goal line. Three straight passes when you got the horses in the stable. Zeus had been dominating to that point, and then you had the jumbo package that would be good for a handful of yards. You really would have liked to have seen the offense punch it in on the ground, as opposed to doing what we did, which was, basically do three cutesy pass plays to the outside.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And to the outside, I think is a good point there, because Bennett was throwing it a long distance, right? Much longer distance than we needed yardage to gain, just because he's going to the edge there. Where
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like, and maybe it's because you're in tighter at the goal line or something, but the passes over the middle are, I feel like, where we really hurt them, which is interesting. It's kind of different from Arkansas, right? Arkansas, it was kind of those short outside passes, and here over the middle to the tight end, a lot of stuff down the middle worked really well.
Yeah, that was always a knock on the offense last season, was that it seemed like we were afraid to go down the middle.
True. Yeah. Let's see. So, and I guess one of the things that we talked about, I guess I was kind of hoping had happened, was that maybe we had figured something out with the offensive line in the second half against Arkansas. And so some of the changes that we made against Arkansas didn't hold here, right? So Hill actually played the majority of the snaps at center. So that was good to see. Good to see him bounce back. He snapped the ball well. We didn't see the over the head, way to the side like we did against Arkansas. So
Mm-hmm.
that was good. And there were lanes for the running backs to run through from the get go, right?
Mm-hmm. No, we had a good push. We had a good push across the board. One of the guys that I know that was starting, that people were kind of surprised about on Twitter, was Owen Condon, picked up a start there.
Mhm.
He did make some mistakes, but like I said, the entirety, the unit together, all inclusive, they were able to get much more push than we did in the Arkansas game, which I definitely want to see that continue.
Yeah. Okay, so offense well, I don't know. It gelled really from the start, I would say. I mean, again, we have 3 and out, I think, first drive, but then from then on looked great. I mean, in the second half, the offense didn't do as much, but didn't need to, right? I mean, we matched Auburn in points, so kept that same halftime lead throughout and just kind of held them at arm's length for the remainder of the half. It kind of made me think of Spaceballs at the end with Lone Star and Lord Helmet. And Lone Star is holding Lord Helmet at arm's length, and Lord Helmet is just waving his Spaceballs style lightsaber at him. It kind of felt like that's what we did to Auburn in the second half last night. I don't know, because when they were on offense, Bo Nix did a lot of running around, maybe, and some things that I kind of got frustrated with. Why can't we bring this guy down? But ultimately, it didn't really hurt. He didn't get any super positive plays out of that generally. The guy, I'll give him credit, that he is elusive, but I don't know, they didn't really take advantage of his elusiveness, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I don't know, but the elusiveness of Bo Nix was definitely something that was incredibly frustrating, because there were times when the plays just completely broke down for Auburn, and they would get these big gains and big yards, or turn a negative play into a positive play on some backyard football type play. I think
Yeah.
there was one where he was able to get the ball to back up to the line of scrimmage, when he just like lobbed the ball up like a layup or something like that over one of our defenders to Tank, and he was able to turn it into a positive play. But there was a lot of that. Had things gone better for the defense, which I'm surprised to be saying that we could have been better, but it could have.
I think you're channeling Kirby Smart's attitude right now. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, we got to get better. We got to get better. Yeah, Stetson's got to go out and get better. He'll be back out here doing work.
That's right. I did. So that one thing I was getting frustrated at the same thing, right? Where we're the pass. So another thing we talked about, right, was, how do you stop their receiving core? Because we knew that's what we needed to shut down. And we talked about needing our secondary to make plays, which we did get a pick. And, what leads to that, and it's pressure. And I feel like we got pressure the whole game. It didn't necessarily result in sacks, although Ojulari's sack where he just bull rushed was, I love that. That was so awesome. And then the play that I really liked this was in the fourth quarter, I believe, where Ojulari had a nice rush off the edge, and he basically came clean free and had Nix, and he stopped because he had remembered what's been happening all game, that they're letting them through clean like that, and then he does, like you said, like that little little screen pass. He was doing some funky stuff, right? And Ojulari actually, he stopped and he peeled off, and then he let him through it. And then they got Bigsby for, I don't even know if he gained a yard, right? But just to see that adjustment in game, I really loved, because that had been frustrating me all game. So a little bit of a nitpick, but to see them pick up on that and adjust in game, I thought was a really good sign.
Yeah, no. Aziz had a big time game. I don't think he started, but he certainly finished well.
He was great. And then, I mean, hated to not have LeCount. I don't agree that was targeting. And like, I know most Georgia fans obviously didn't. Most of the beat writers at the game and kind of pundits, I felt like, agreed that it wasn't targeting. I did see Tony Barnhart said that it's basically, it doesn't have to be helmet to helmet. It was that his shoulder went to his helmet. So he was saying it was textbook targeting. I kind of get into the spirit of the rule type thing. I mean, when the receiver is ducking down, like, I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do. But
yeah, I had mentioned something along those lines, that they really need to have a tweak on the rules here, because I really don't know what else LeCount could have done there. I mean, yeah, he maybe was going down and would have caught the ball and it would have been dead right there. But his job as a defender is to make sure he does not catch the ball. And if you basically just allow the receivers to collapse down to the ground to catch the ball, like, at that point, there's no tackle football anymore.
Right. Let's just play flag.
Exactly.
But I will say, at least it happened in the first half, which means LeCount doesn't have to miss any time against Tennessee. So that's, I guess, my silver lining on that.
Yep. And the other thing that that I think is amazing to think about, but Auburn has not beaten Georgia in Georgia since 2005.
Okay, so, and I knew that, and I talked about that with Megan. Thanks again to Megan, my friend, Auburn grad, for coming on to give us the Auburn fans' perspective. I'm not sure she'll ever come on again after a game went like that, after I talked to her, but it was a lot
Thanks
of fun.
For your participation.
But she came prepared, and that was one of the things that she dropped. And I am now, like, it hadn't really hit me until last night that I didn't even have children the last time Auburn won at Georgia. Holy cow.
That's something I was going to throw out there too, is that my children do not know the taste of defeat with Auburn coming to Sanford Stadium.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, and I have a high schooler. My oldest is in the 9th grade, and she was not born the last time Georgia lost to Auburn at home. So that is a great thing. If I were to nitpick, actually, let me say, well, I think overall special teams were not as good in this game as they were against Arkansas, I would say, but they were still very good. And we had the 2 like back-to-back motion penalties on that first punt. That was kind of frustrating. We saw some directional kicking. I'm not sure where that came from. Definitely like the out of the end zone. My guess is, let me see what you think about this. It started after we got up big. And so my question is, was that strategy employed to make sure we can tackle someone? Because you could miss and not get it out of the end zone at some point and need to tackle. And so they need live game practices of tackling a kickoff. Or is that just too risky to even consider? I don't know.
I could foresee Kirby trying to milk the clock kind of situation. I mean, knowing that they weren't able to do anything on offense, any amount of time that we were able to clip off could be a net positive for the team there. However long it is, I don't know. I don't like it. I hate it. I hate everything about it. Give me Tyler Dogden's favorite play. Favorite play.
He actually tweeted last night, the first kickoff that didn't go out of the end zone. He tweeted, "Not my favorite play," which was hilarious.
Exactly.
And then Hot Pod, which we are officially calling him Hot Pod now. I do believe that. I think that's kind of. Do we not have to? Should we not? So I don't know. I've seen it. It's a lot. It's been on Twitter. We'll just maybe I'll just say Pod, because I can't really. I mess up his name anyways. Pod Lesney. Is that right?
Possibly.
So two of three. It did make me miss Hot Rod though when because the one that he missed was it 48 yards or was it 43? It was inside of 50. It was
Mm-hmm.
one that I felt like it was a Rodrigo automatic one,
Mm-hmm.
but again, but he made the two that he had to. That I did really want points on that drive, the one that he missed, but turned out not to really matter because Auburn seemed pretty okay with just running the clock for us.
Yeah, exactly. I was telling you that at one point when we went up big. Right, it was right before the interception. They had I don't know. It was right before the interception that I felt like that time was of the essence for them, that they had to start taking shots downfield. And I think that the broadcast crew kind of mentioned as such that they were surprised, number one, that it took so long for Seth Williams to even get targeted. Um, I thought it was strange that they didn't get Pegues involved sooner, but literally nothing was working, so they had nothing to lose if they were to change things up. But yeah, they just kept they just kept running the ball and doing these little dink and dunk plays that was just eating the clock.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at that point, again, and that's where I get back to my Spaceballs thing. Like, I feel like was basically Kirby was just kind of like, okay, like, sure, we'll give you that. We cut off everything deep and let them dink and dunk their way to basically killing the clock. I mean, we only had the ball 3 times in the second half. We just let them
Mm-hmm.
piddle around and get 3 points, and chew the clock. The
Yeah.
second half, I mean, it went pretty fast. It felt like it went pretty fast. I mean, that game was just, it was just over. And then we were just kind of waiting for the clock to run out. I don't know.
We were like, "Do you guys want to play?"
It
Apparently
was,
not.
which was amazing. I mean, it was kind of a nice, relaxing second half. I never had to get nervous and have my heart rate racing. Like I guess I would say typical Auburn game. So that was definitely nice.
Yeah.
Nice to have that happen.
Let me go back to the offense, but like,
Sure.
let's look at the scoring drives, and these are surprising to me. Like, I didn't realize that the scoring plays um, were so long. So Bennett basically led scoring drives 43 yards, 59 yards, 84 yards, and 72 yards. Those are manhood stealing drives, as
Yeah.
get the picture puts it, in his blog.
Right. Right.
Mumpole, shout out Mumpole.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of so that I do feel like so yes, I mean that was all the first half, and we just robbed them of their manhood. And so the other thing I said on Twitter was that now this is man ball. Because like I said in our first episode, that to me I felt like what everyone has been lamenting, calling man ball for the last 2 years with our offense, I have felt like this is man ball. Like we're in the shotgun running inside zone. Like I don't know, that just doesn't seem very manly to me. um, Man ball is Jalen Carter in at fullback and just smashing holes open, and with Jordan Davis at tight end and Zamir White waltzing into the end zone. That was amazing. So that was the kind of robbing of their manhood in the first half, and then in the second half, back in the Richt era, I feel like his favorite way to end a game with at the peak of the Richt and Bobo offense was we would have this like 10-minute drive. Like we'd get the ball back with 10 minutes in the fourth quarter with a lead, and we would end up taking a knee at the end of the game without scoring. Like we just have these like long, crazy drives. And I feel like Kirby is the antithesis of that, where he just like leaves our defense is out there and the other team is out there like gaining yards, but not quickly enough, and frankly not scoring. And that's how he ends games, right? Which the other thing I don't think either of us felt like we would keep them out of the end zone. I mean, that was, I just can't say enough about the defense. Again, Kirby continued to tell them they need to improve. And we nitpicked a couple things. I think there are things you can find, and I'm sure there's plenty that you can see on the tape to improve. But I mean, to keep them out of the end zone, that was impressive. That was very impressive.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, all of my Auburn friends were really, really quiet yesterday. I sent you a funny meme. I sent you a funny
Yeah.
meme about Kirby, finding quarterbacks to play, but you know, Franklin, the guy that sent it to me. He was very, very quiet afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's getting pretty one sided here. And I guess the other thing I'll say, just in the recent matchups between them, between Georgia and Auburn, and I will say maybe there is something to my original thought of, hey, maybe playing Auburn earlier in the season isn't so bad.
I don't think it really matters at this point because it's becoming a Georgia Tech ish rivalry at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, right, right. Well, and you said you weren't worried about Auburn. I wasn't before the season. I was after last week, but I did not expect that kind of. I was hoping. I was expecting improvement with the offense. I wasn't expecting it to be that big of an improvement. And the one other thing I'll say on offense is we got to keep getting Kenny McIntosh involved as well.
Mm-hmm.
That opening kickoff return, awesome. I yelled, how about them apples?" I stole my wife's line. She came back and said that the return was crisp. So, love Kenny McIntosh. Love what he did, what he's doing in the return game and on offense. And I thought Cook was having a good game until he got hurt. Hopefully, he's okay. I think Kirby said he could have come back in, but we didn't really need him.
Yeah, kind of like JT Daniels could have come in, but didn't. But yeah,
I think we could put that to bed. I think we could put it to bed. I was the one. I was prolonging the quarterback debate. You told me that it was Bennett and it's going to be Bennett until there's a reason not to be Bennett. I didn't listen. I am now listening. We've got a starter. How could I ever have doubted the mailman?
the mailman delivers.
Unbelievable. I love it. I love it. And I was I love a good story. I've said that and I get sentimental. I mean, mailman story is pretty good too. He's
I
got a
tell you
great
what.
story.
I tell you what. He's Kirby mentioned that he's not the type of kid to say that he's arrived or whatever, or feel like he's arrived. Um, but seeing Stetson in the interview afterwards, he almost looks uncomfortable in the spotlight, which makes me
Yeah.
love him even more because
Yeah.
there's some folks that could probably throw some schmarm out there or whatever, um, and get a little bit, take a little opportunity to, I guess a victory lap, if you will, with the media. But he seems like he's just a really straightforward kid. And like I said, and we led this off of the podcast. I mean, we talked about it. We talked about how it looked in the Arkansas game, but in this Auburn game afterwards, you really felt it. I really felt it when I saw all of his teammates run around him. They want to play for this kid, and not to say that they don't want to play for Mathis or they don't want to play for Daniels, but like I don't know what
Yeah.
it is about Stetson, and maybe it's the fact that he's virtually the biggest leader. He's been there the longest. Seems to really know what he's doing with the offense. They seem really comfortable with him at quarterback. And if that continues, you like our chances on offense if they continue to want to play, because that desire, that motivation on offense is going to lead these guys to a championship if we can continue this going forward.
Well, it's amazing just in my psyche the way things have changed. We've gone from oh my gosh, Fromm left. Hey, we've got Jamie Newman. Oh my gosh, Newman opted out. Hey, Mathis. Now we're to Bennett. But me doubting Bennett, last week and saying that Daniels is going to start to fourth quarter. You and I are texting. Oh no, is the mailman hurt? I hope his hand's okay. What are we going to do without the mailman?
He was really flexing. He was really flexing that hand there.
He was.
But I
He
tell
was,
you,
but see, I don't know. They haven't said anything about. I haven't heard anything about that today, so I assume he's fine.
yeah. I think he was okay. I just don't think that they were wanting to throw the ball at the end of the game. But
No
yeah,
need to.
exactly. But let's hope that things continue there, because I do love the feel good story. If that continues, I imagine, you know, you have to figure that the game day will probably be, in Tuscaloosa should things continue to go forward the way they are. Number one versus number. And the other thing I think that we
I
probably.
don't want to talk. I was kidding. No Alabama talk. No, we got Tennessee next week.
Mm-hmm.
uh, which, by the way, did you see that is officially a 3:30 CBS game of the week? Tennessee at Georgia next week.
I
They
did.
announced that today.
I saw
Yeah.
that. I saw that. Which a broadcast drubbing of Tennessee would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Because I got to tell you, Tennessee's been getting a lot of love. Their defense looks pretty good. I haven't looked at a whole lot of film. I know we'll do our preview show, but I'll certainly be looking a little closer at their offense. But the defense appears to be pretty good right now thus far. But yeah, we got anytime we're playing 3:30 on Saturday is a good day.
Absolutely. Did you have something else? I cut you off again. I'm bad.
Oh, no,
I talk too much.
No, you saw Jeremiah Holloman. You sent me Jeremiah Holloman's tweet about Stetson Bennett, which to me is probably one of the most hilarious things I've seen in a while. Where he basically showed a picture of a message that Stetson sent him a long time ago, where he was trying to get.
It was from 2000 May of 2016.
Yeah. Oh wow! I didn't even see that. Holy cow! Yeah. Stetson was probably a high schooler at that point, right?
Yeah. So this is while they were. I would say Holloman was too, right? So this is they're both being in the recruiting process. Yep.
Yep. And he basically was saying, "Hey, I'm looking to go to camp at Auburn. Just want to make sure somebody knows that I'm coming."
Right. Holloman put the picture. He took a screenshot of their text message into a tweet and said, "I think they know who you are now, Stetson."
Yes, that is the stuff of gold right there. That is gold.
Unbelievable. That really is awesome. Someone was kind enough to retweet that into my timeline. Otherwise, I wouldn't have seen it. That's pretty awesome.
What else you got, Jim?
I was trying to think if I had any. I did have a question from Patrick, but we already answered it. He had just said, "Is the quarterback controversy officially over?" And I said, "Yes, it's done. I think we could put that to bed." We already talked about that.
Solidly to bed right now.
Yeah.
Unless something dramatic changes or someone's performance in practices really dramatically improves week over week. I believe that you are looking at the starting quarterback for the University of Georgia Bulldogs, Stetson Bennett. He is going to be the starter for quite some time until he proves that he doesn't deserve it anymore.
Hey, the mailman I believe he is a junior by class, right? Because 17 he redshirted. He'd gone for 8. So he got 17 was a redshirt freshman year. Then he got and then 18 would have been freshman, 19 sophomore, 20 junior, which means we could still have him again next year. Plus COVID gives you a freebie. We could have 3 years of the mailman, including this year.
Well, isn't everybody basically, if you're a senior, you're actually really a junior because you get like this year's like a freebie,
my understanding is it's a freebie for anyone. And if you're a senior this year and come back again next year, you don't count against the 85 limit. But, that goes away after next year. So there would be roster. I don't know that it's really going to affect anyone at this point. I'm not sure. Unless for like Julian Rochester wants to come back again. Or like Nate McBride or something maybe. I can see something like that. But.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just saw an article from the AJC talking about Kirby Smart talking about how he made a mistake and that Bennett should have been the guy all along. Since we're talking about Bennett,
really,
yeah. He said some people could probably argue that we didn't make the right decision in the first game. Maybe he should have been the guy.
Interesting. I mean, he certainly looked like it. I mean, I did not. I mean, he had obviously. I wasn't thinking about him, and I was surprised when he came in. I mean, I guess my expectations thus weren't very high anyway. But I mean, he's blown them away for me.
Yeah, and he goes on to say, Kirby goes on to kind of fill some color in on how this guy's been thinking, and he mentioned it in the interview that all of the interviews was that he expected to his goal when he came to Georgia from the beginning was to be the starter,
Well, there.
which.
Oh, keep going.
But basically he's giving him credit. He says not only was he not the guy, he was not getting a lot of reps early in camp. To his credit, the reps he took a lot of value in. He came and saw me a couple of times, wanted to know why he was where he was and why he wasn't getting a lot of reps. They talked about it a lot as a staff. It wasn't a clear cut, but anyway,
that is interesting that he would say that.
Yeah.
I was going to say there's an account I have found on Twitter. It's like Stetson Bennett fan account. Have you seen any of those? And it's basically just always talks up Stetson Bennett. And they said the other day, it was like that feeling when you're thinking about the fact that Georgia could be coming off their third straight national championship if Bennett had been the starter since 17.
Oh, geez. Everybody was worried about the From Justin Fields controversy. We should have been worried about the Bennett controversy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. How could Georgia not play Justin Fields? Please. How could Georgia not be starting the mailman?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to his credit, he didn't get a whole lot of opportunities. It sounds like that basically he just owned his role and just stuck around and fought about it. And I think Kirby also said in another quote I saw, he basically didn't cry about it either. And that to me just speaks volumes. I mean, it's almost like I think we kind of mentioned, DJ Shockley-ish. He's getting his opportunity to come on board. He waited around. He actually left. Came back.
Yeah.
So to me, I mean, that's like that. I want this story to be successful moving forward. I want him to be the guy. I want him to be the most successful quarterback in Georgia history. Like, that kind of thing. I want him to just be as successful as possible because I love the story about the kid and everything. The more you hear about him, the more you hear about how he thinks, the more you hear about how he works. He's just a guy that the entire Dog Nation should get behind, even though, like I nitpick on him too, like I said, I think if we had a quote unquote better skilled quarterback, a couple of those throws that he made probably would be touchdowns.
Well, yeah, like that one to Jackson, right? I mean, he didn't get quite enough distance on it. If he had thrown it a little bit further, would have been 6. But I do feel like he knows his limitations and plays within his abilities. I mean, like that balloon ball that I mentioned that he threw to Landers. And I know it wasn't completion, but that's a kind of ball that guys with an arm like that throw, right? They throw that balloon ball, throw it really high, and it can be effective. So I love that, and I think he's critical of himself too, right? I mean, he talked about that in the Arkansas game, that 2-point conversion, that yes, it worked, and yes, they got the 2 points, but he actually made it harder than it should have been. The way he sent Cook in motion, brought a linebacker in his way, right? And which I saw us do stuff like that last night, where we sent folks in motion and took people out of the play. So definitely think that what Monken is teaching them and is dialing up is working. So I feel like we saw a much better gelling and meshing of the Monken offense with our players, with the Matt Luke offensive line. We're seeing it come together already in just game 2. So hopefully that can just continue to prove. The other thing I like about Stetson Bennett is I think he's funny. Like he has good, funny answers. Someone asked him something yesterday about like how he would actually, I think it was the question where you were just saying that he was saying all along he expected to play. His goal was to win SEC championships and national championships. But I think initially when they asked him, what was your expectation when you got to Georgia? His initial answer was, which time?
That's great.
So that I loved. I thought that was good. So the kid's, not only can he deliver, but he also has a sense of humor. So I obviously appreciate that.
Yeah, I think Georgia's got its own little version of Invincible going on right now. With
amazing.
Yeah, we've got our own little version of Invincible going on right now. That I want to see how this movie ends.
one last thing before we sign off, did want to announce the winner of our 7-6 giveaway. So after compiling all of the entries across all social platforms, the winner ended up being a Facebook entry. So with it being Facebook, I'm just going to go first name and then first initial of last name, and I will reach out to this person directly. So the winner is Patrick K. So congratulations, Patrick. I'll reach out to you to find out size and which shirt you want. So congratulations, Patrick, and thanks to everyone for entering. And obviously, thanks to 7-6 Apparel as well. Well, that went a lot better than even I expected. So, but great to get a win and top the Tigers in Athens again, like we've done every year since 2005. So we'll talk again soon to do our Tennessee preview.
Absolutely. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.